Innovation and Creativity. Part 3. The Roadblocks to Progress. In the sprawling city of Tikopolis, where the hum of technology fused seamlessly with the heartbeats of its innovative citizens, dawn was once again painting the skyline with soft hues of pink and gold. The city's streets, alive with the endless energy of its people, were the backdrop to an unfolding story of ambition and determination. Inside the Karugarama household, a different kind of energy was pulsing through the walls. The previous days had seen the family's collective effort reach new heights, and their project for the digital innovation competition was beginning to take shape. Yet, with each step forward, new challenges arose, ones that tested their patience, their resilience, and, most importantly, their unity. Eugene, who had taken the lead on strategy, woke earlier than usual. The project plan he had meticulously crafted was sprawled across his desk, the pages filled with diagrams, schedules, and countless notes scrawled in the margins. But something was nagging at him. The timelines weren't aligning as they should, and the team seemed to be falling behind schedule despite their hard work. With a deep breath, he resolved to call a family meeting after breakfast. Meanwhile, Emmanuel was grappling with a complex coding problem. For hours, he had been staring at his screens, trying to debug a particularly stubborn issue that had arisen in their software. His fingers flew across the keyboard, but frustration was mounting. The code, which had worked seamlessly the day before, was now producing an inexplicable error. Emmanuel was methodical in his approach, yet even he had to admit he was stumped. In another corner of the house, Darius was experiencing a different kind of frustration. His app prototype, which had initially seemed like a brilliant idea, was hitting roadblocks in its augmented reality (AR) component. The technology was glitchy, not as user-friendly as he had envisioned. Every time he tested it, the AR interface lagged or failed to respond. Darius, who prided himself on creative problem-solving, felt a pang of doubt creeping in. Maybe this idea wasn't as innovative as he had thought. Maybe they needed to rethink their approach entirely. Pauline, the family's charismatic communicator, was also feeling the weight of the project. She had been on back-to-back video calls with potential investors and partners, trying to secure support for the competition. Her natural gift for storytelling was shining through, but the demands were relentless. Every conversation was critical, and each presentation had to be flawless. But even she was beginning to feel the strain. As she hung up from her latest call, she slumped into a chair, rubbing her temples. They needed more time. They needed more resources. But most of all, they needed a breakthrough. Apollinaria, in her usual calm and collected manner, was reviewing user feedback from the initial tests of their digital interface. Her keen eye for detail was catching small, yet significant issues in the design. The user experience wasn't as seamless as it could be, and she was determined to improve it. Yet, the sheer volume of feedback was overwhelming. She found herself questioning whether they could fix all the issues before the competition deadline. As the family gathered around the breakfast table, the tension in the air was palpable. The once lively discussions filled with excitement and hope had now been replaced by quiet contemplation. Everyone knew that they were up against a formidable challenge, but no one wanted to be the first to admit how daunting it felt. Eugene, always the leader, cleared his throat and spoke first. "I think we need to reassess our timeline. We're not where we need to be, and if we keep going at this pace, we might not finish in time for the competition." Emmanuel nodded in agreement, though his eyes were still clouded with frustration. "I've been working on the code all night, and it's not cooperating. I don't know what's wrong, but we might need to get an outside perspective." Darius, his usual optimism dimmed, chimed in. "The AR part of the app, it's not working like I thought it would. We might need to pivot or scrap it entirely." The room fell silent as the weight of their words sank in. For the first time, the family was faced with the possibility that their dream might not come to fruition. The reality of the roadblocks ahead was beginning to set in. But before despair could take hold, Theogene and Dative, who had been quietly observing the conversation, exchanged a knowing glance. Theogene stood up, his voice steady and reassuring. "Challenges are part of every great journey. The road to innovation isn't a straight path. It's filled with twists, turns, and obstacles. But it's how we face those challenges that defines our success. Dave, ever the emotional anchor, added, "Remember, this isn't just about winning the competition. It's about what we learn along the way. We're in this together, and together, we'll find a way through." Their words, though simple, had a profound effect. The tension began to ease as the family members looked at each other, realizing that they were not alone in their struggles. They had each other, and with that, they had everything they needed to move forward. The first step was to regroup and reprioritize. Eugene suggested that they bring in Ferdinand, their trusted cybersecurity expert, to help troubleshoot the coding issue Emmanuel was facing. He also proposed a meeting with Joshua, the digital marketing guru, to strategize how they could leverage their project's strengths in their pitch, even if some elements weren't perfect. Meanwhile, Darius decided to reach out to a few AR specialists he had met at a tech conference months earlier. He knew that if anyone could help him refine the AR component, it would be them. Pauline, ever the communicator, offered to handle the outreach, setting up meetings and coordinating schedules. Apollinaria, determined to streamline the user experience, proposed a series of rapid design sprints to address the feedback. She knew they couldn't fix everything, but they could prioritize the most critical issues and make meaningful improvements before the deadline. As the day progressed, the family's energy shifted. What had begun as a morning filled with uncertainty and frustration was slowly transforming into a day of action and renewed determination. They weren't just solving problems, they were learning, adapting, and growing as a team. By the afternoon, Ferdinand had arrived at the house, his expertise already proving invaluable. Within hours, he had pinpointed the issue in the code that had been stumping Emmanuel. It was a subtle bug, one that would have taken days for Emmanuel to find on his own. With Ferdinand's help, they were able to fix the problem and get the software back on track. Meanwhile, Darius's AR specialist had responded to his call for help. They agreed to meet the next day to review the app and offer suggestions for improvement. Darius felt a surge of hope. Maybe they wouldn't have to abandon the AR component after all. As evening approached, the family gathered once again, this time with a sense of accomplishment. They hadn't solved all their problems, but they had made significant progress. More importantly, they had rediscovered the strength that came from working together, from trusting in each other's abilities, and from believing that, no matter what obstacles they faced, they would find a way through. See you back in part 4. Love you.